Bruchim haboim. Welcome everyone. We're about to begin Be'ezras Hashem together on Daf Kuf Lamed Amud Aleph, 2 lines from the bottom. Our Mishnah stated, Kol tzarche mila oisim b'Shabbos. And the question is, what does that come to include? According to Rabbi Akiva, it means the bris milah itself, even though one needs to make a chabola to perform the bris milah, and therefore it's a malacha diaraisa of netilas neshama, but it's mutter when the 8th day comes out to be on Shabbos, when it's milah bizmano. According to Rabbi Eliezer, however, you don't only are permitted to then make the bris milah, but you're also permitted to do all of the hechsherei milah. That means all of the things surrounding to perform the bris milah are also permissible. And therefore he says if a person needs to then carry the izmal that was not brought before Shabbos, he can carry derech reshus harabim, even though it's a malacha diarais of hoitzah, it's permissible. Says the Gemara, Amar Rabbi Abba bar Ado, Amar Rabbi Yitzchok, Pam achas shochachu v'lo heviu izmal me'erev Shabbos. One time they forgot to bring the izmal to perform the bris milah that was done on Shabbos. Veheviu b'Shabbos derech gagos v'derech chatzeros, and they brought it through the gagos and chatzeros. Now an erev was not done, so technically this should be also midrabanan. But over here, according to this, Rabbi Abba said they permitted it as a hechsher for bris milah. In the top of Kuf Lamed Amud Beis, and Rabbi Abba concludes shaloi beratzon Rabbi Eliezer. And this is not the fida ratzon of Rabbi Eliezer. In fact, the Gemara maski for Rav Yosef shaloi beratzon Rabbi Eliezer. This is not according to the ratzon of Rabbi Eliezer. Adarabba, Rabbi Eliezer hu deshar, he's the one who permits such a thing. He permits hechsher milah. The kavana when Rabbi Abba said shaloi beratzon Rabbi Eliezer means the shari afilu b'reshus harabim, that Rabbi Eliezer says it's permissible to even carry during the reshus harabim, and therefore this is only going to be permitted derech gagos and chatzeros. That means that Rabbi Eliezer says much more than this opinion which took place over here. Ela beratzon rabbanon, and the ratzon was lefi the rabbanon, means Rabbi Eliezer's bar pluk to Rabbi Akiva. The asru derech reshus harabim v'sho derech gagos derech chatzeros v'karfivos, who prohibited taking the izmal through the reshus harabim, which would be a halacha deraisa, but they said in Isser Rabbanon you could do umishari. That's not so. Even the Rabbanon would say that's not permissible. V'hatanya, behold, it says in Brisa, Kishem she'ein mevin oisoi derech reshus harabim, kach ein mevin oisoi loy derech gagois v'lo derech karfifois v'lo derech chatzeros. The same way that you cannot do hechsher milah by carrying something through the reshus harabim, you also cannot do so carrying it through the gagois, chatzeros, and karfifos. By the way, a karfifa is an enclosed area, also a reshus hayachid, but it is not used for residential purposes. So therefore, what was the kavana when Rabbi Abba added that we're talking about shaloi b'ratzon Rabbi Eliezer? Whose ratzon was it? Says the Gemara, Ella Omar of Ashi shaloi b'ratzon Rabbi Eliezer umachluktoi. It's going to say that it's not lefi Rabbi Eliezer and the one that he is arguing on, namely Rabbi Akiva, which we're referring to as the Chachamim. This is not according to either one of theirs ratzon. Like we said before, according to Rabbi Eliezer, he's matter even during going derech reshus harabim, and according to the Rabbanon, they're not even matter going in the gagos, chatzeros, and the karfifos. Ella beratzon Rabbi Shimon. This is going according to the sheet of Rabbi Shimon. The Snan, for it states in the Mishnah, Rabbi Shimon Omer, Echad gagois, ve'echad karfifois, ve'echad chatzeros, kulon reshus echad hein. They're all one reshus, and therefore one can carry from a gag to a chatzer. He can carry from a gag to a karfifo, and vice versa, because they're all one reshus. What can he carry? So he goes on to explain, lekelim sheshovsu besoichon, v'lo lekelim sheshovsu besoich habayis. Providing we're talking about kelim, objects that were already, let's say, in the chutzner on the onset of Shabbos. Then he can carry it to then he can carry it to, let's say, to a gag or so on. But if it was an object that was in a house before Shabbos on the onset, he could not. So even if it got to the Chatzar because an Erev Chatzeros was made, permitting carrying from a house to the Chatzar, but he cannot, according to Rabbi Shimon, then carry the object from the Chatzar to the Gag. So again, we're talking about over here that Rabbi Abba said that the Ismail that was not brought before Shabbos was carried from the Chatzar. There are Gagos and Chatzeros. And we're referring to over here that the knife, the Pashas were saying that the Ismail was placed already in the Chatzar, in one of these places, or in the Gag, before Shabbos. Boy Minei, Rabbi Zera, Rabbi Asi. Rabbi Zera asked the following question to Rabbi Asi. Mavui shelo nishtatfu boy mahu letaltel bekula. He has a new question. He says, if a mavui, now a mavui, we explained before, is where the chatzeros, there are different chatzeros that were opened up to a mavui. So in order normally to be able to then go from a chatzar and carry an object from a chatzar to a mavui, there has to be a shituf mavui that combines all of the chatzeros into this to one entity, whereby they can carry into the mavui. So we're asking over here, can a person carry in the mavui if a shituf mavui was not made? In other words, you certainly cannot go from a chatzar to a mavui if a shituf mavui was not made. But can you carry within the mavui itself, throughout the mavui, if the shituf mavui was not made? Mi amrin, do we say bechatzir dami, that the chatzir is something that you could carry, and therefore, even if the person did not make an erev chatzeros, whereby he cannot carry from a bias to a chatzir, but he could carry within the chatzir itself. And therefore, maybe the mavui that we're asking about is doime to the chatzir. Ma chatzir afagad deloy ervu mutter letaltel bekuloi. Hainami afagad deloy nishnatfu boy mutter letaltel bekuloi. Just as a chatzir, if you didn't do erev chatzeros, you can carry within the chatzir itself. So too, the mavui, if you did not do a shituv mavui, you can carry within the mavui itself. Or perhaps it's not similar to a chatzir. It's different than a chatzir. Chatzir, you can do that. You can carry within the chatzir, even though an erev chatzir was not made. But a mavui not. Why? Because a mavui is different than a chatzir. The chatzir is leidalin mechitzos. High less leidalin mechitzos. A mavui doesn't have dal mechitzos. The fourth mechitza in a mavui that sasum is open, whereas a chatzir, it has dalim mechitzos, and it's used for the residential people to then have their usages in the chatzir. So therefore, that's different. Inami chatzir isle diorin, high less le diorin. Or the chatzir, we said, has people who are there. That means the bias goes into the chatzir. But the mavui is not like that, and therefore there's a chatzir between the bias and the mavui, whereby the mavui is not compared to a chatzir. So therefore, we don't have an answer where the question still stands. What is the din when it comes to a mavui when a shituv mavui was not done? Says the Gemara, Shostik v'lo Omar le v'lo midi. So Rav Asi did not answer Rabbi Zera at all. Zimnin ashkechei the Yossi v'Ka Omar. The Gemara tells us that Rabbi Zera found Rabbi Asi subsequently sitting and saying the following: Omar Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish mishum Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi Pam achas shachachu v'lo heviu izma me'erev Shabbos. One time they forgot to bring a mila's knife before Shabbos. V'heviu b'Shabbos, and they brought it on Shabbos. V'haya hadavar kasher l'chachamim. And this matter was very difficult in the Chachamim's eyes, that they brought an Ismail on Shabbos for the bris milah. Heich manichin divrei Chachamim v'oisin k'Rabbi Eliezer. They said, how can you leave the opinion, which is the opinion that is followed of the Chachamim, and go after Rabbi Eliezer? Chadad Rabbi Eliezer shimutihu. First of all, Rabbi Eliezer is a Talmud of Shammai Hazokin. He's a Beis Shammai, and the halach is not like Beis Shammai. V'oid, and further, Yochi v'Rabbim halach Rabbim. When there's a machlokes between Yochi and Rabbim, the halach is like the Rabbim, and therefore the halach should be like the Chachamim, not like Rabbi Eliezer. So how can they bring a Ismail for the bris milah? It's a hechsher milah. Omar Rabbi Yoshaya, Rabbi Asi went on to say, Rabbi Yoshaya She'ilas es Rabbi Yehuda HaGoizer v'Omarli. He said that Rabbi Yoshaya asked a shaila to a moyel named Rabbi Yehuda HaGoizer, and Rabbi Yehuda HaGoizer said back to him, Mavui shalom nishtatfu boy hava. It was a mavui that was without shita of mavui. Ve'asu mehai reish lahai reisha, and they brought it from one end of the mavui to the other end of the mavui. That means that they carried within the mavui itself the ismal. Omar lei, so Rabbi Zeir now turns to Rabbi Asi. Svira lei lemar mavui shel nishtatfu muter letalta bekulon. Do you hold that indeed you can carry within a mavui itself? Omar lei in. He said to him, yes. Omar lei v'hoz zimnin boy minoch v'lomar amisli hachi. I asked you this question previously and you didn't answer me. Dilmav agav shitfach rohit loch gemorach. Maybe because of the flow of the thought of thinking about what Rabbi Reish Lakish had said and the ensuing statement that Rabbi Oshaya made, that he asked the Moyel this question, and it was talking about within a mavui itself, that the halacha came to you, it ran after you. Omar in. Yes, indeed, that's so, Rabbi Asi said. Aga shitfa rihita ligamri, gemari. That indeed the flow of the thinking about the various particulars of the case, then the halacha then ran over to me. So it comes out over here that Rabbi Asi, in terms of can you carry within a mavui, he says you can, yes, carry a mavui even if a shituf mavui was not made. Itmar, the Gemara now brings another statement. Omer Rabbi Zeira Omer Rav. Now this time Rabbi Zeira, he made a statement of Rav in regards to the same shaila. Mavui shalon nishtatfu boy ein metaltalim boy ela dalet amos. That he said in the name of Rav that a mavui, where a sheet of mavui was not made, one can only carry within the mavui dalet amos, but not beyond. So here we have a different opinion than the opinion before that we said in the name of Asi, where Rav said you can carry throughout the mavui. Here, Rabbi Zeir says in the name of Rav that it's only within dalet amos. So Omar Abai comments, Hi Milso, Amr Rabbi Zeir v'lo pirsho ad osa Rabbi bar avuo upirsho. This statement Rabbi Zeir made in the name of Rav that said you can only carry dalet amos in the mavui was not explained until Rabbi Bar Avuo came and explained it. Domer Rav Nachman, Amar Rabbi Bar Avuo, Amar Rav. Mavui, in other words, is this always the case that a person cannot carry beyond dalet amos in a mavui when a sheet of mavui was not made, or in only certain circumstances? So now it was explained as follows: Mavui sheloi nishtatfu boy. If a mavui did not have a sheet of mavui, irvu chatzeros imbatim. If an erev was done as an erev chatzeros, allowing one to carry from a bayis to a chatzer or vice versa, then ein metaltalim boy. Then you cannot carry within the mavui itself. Ela b'dalet amos. Loi irvu chatzeros imbatim muter letaltal bekuloi. But if an erev was not made, an erev chatzeros, between the bayis and the chatzer, permitting you to carry between one and the other, then one can, yes, carry throughout the mavui. So again, he's saying like this. He's saying that which we said you cannot carry beyond dalet amos in the mavui is specifically referring to a case, as Rav, that you did make an erev chatzeros. That which says that you could, yes, carry throughout the mavui, however, would be talking about when you did not make an erev chatzeros. So says the Gemara to explain. Omar le Rav Chanina chuzo le Rabba maishna ki erev chatzeros imbatim. What's the difference if a person made erev chatzeros? What does that have to do with carrying in the mavui? The nitku chatzeros v'nasu batim. Is it because he had now taken away, he removed the status of a chatzer, whereby there's only left a bayis, it's just the batim, because now the chatzeros are now considered to be part halachically of the bayis now? V'rav l'tamei, and Rav said this statement according to his own rationale, his own reasoning, that he said if you made an erev chatzeros then you cannot carry in the mavui, because as follows: Doma Rav, Ein amavui nitar belechi v'kara. A mavui, in order to carry in a mavui, it has to have on the end, the open end of the mavui, either a lechi or a kara. A lechi is a side post, which is 10 tefachim high. A kara is a cross beam throughout the from one end to the other that has the thickness of a tefach. Ad shiyu batim v'chatzeros psuchin l'soichai. Rav makes the statement that the only way you can carry within a mavui is if it has the chatzeros, 2 chatzeros at least, with at least 2 batim in each chatzer that is opened up to the mavui. On top of Kuf Lamed Aleph Amud Aleph, and therefore v'hacha batim ika chatzeros leka. Over here, then you have batim because you made an erev chatzeros, but you don't have chatzeros. So therefore, you're lacking this requirement of Rav that since you don't have 2 chatzeros that are going into the mavui, therefore you cannot carry in the mavui, and that's why he said if it made a erev chatzeros, then you cannot carry in the mavui, because making an erev chatzeros makes it so that it's as if we're saying that the bias is going into the mavui, and halachically there's no chatzer over here. So the Gemara challenges and says, Kilel irvu nami. Even if he did not make erev chatzeros, also there should be an equal problem, because by not making erev chatzeros, then lechazinu lahani batim keman destimi damu. If you did not make an erev chatzeros, then we should look at the batim as being part of the chatzeros, whereby there's no bias. You only have chatzeros that are going into the mavui, because halachically we're saying that the bias, there's a chatzer that's in between the bias and the mavui. So you really only have a chatzer that's opened up to the mavui. The chatzeros ikav batim lek, and thereby you have chatzeros, but you don't have batim, whereby according to Rav's requirement to carry in a mavui, you're lacking batim. You have to have chatzeros, and you have to have batim within the chatzeros to then make this permissible to carry. And therefore, that can't be the reason why Rav says when you make an erev chatzeros, it's prohibited to carry beyond Dalet Amos in the mavui, but when you do not make an erev chatzeros, it would be permissible. That can't be. Efsher the mavatle le reshuso the kulu legabecha. The Gemara answers that it's possible that all of those who lived in the batim, they were mavatel their reshus to one of the people there, one of the batim, so that the chatzar now belongs to him, whereby now you have his bias opened up to the mavui, and that solves the problem that we just mentioned. But the Gemara says that doesn't solve it entirely, because soif bias ika batim leka. It's true, you have a bias that's opened up now to the mavui, but you don't have more than one bias, because they all were mavatel reshus to one person. And Rav's requirement is that you have at least 2 chatzeros with 2 batim in each chatzer opened up to the mavui. Says the Gemara, Efsher de mitzafri va'ad palga di yoima legabichad. It's possible that they were matal reshus to one person from the first part of the day. Mipalga di yoima lepanya legabichad, and they were mevatel their reshus to a different person the second part of the day. And though this might be valid, but says the Gemara, that's not going to help things, because soif ba'ina de isei lahai lese lahai. Granted, it'll be a bias going into the mavui. It'll be one bias, but it won't be both batim together, because when it's that person's bias is going to revert back to everybody else, and then it's going to be somebody else's bias. So you never have 2 batim at the same time going into the mavui. So again, we're at a loss for how it could be that Rav says you cannot carry beyond Dalet Amos in the mavui because you made a erev chatzeros. Elom Rav Ashi, rather Rav Ashi explains entirely differently. Migorom lechatzeros she'al osru. He says the reason why over here Rav makes this distinction between when a person makes erev chatzeros and he says you can thereby not carry in the mavui beyond Dalet Amos, whereas if you did not make a erev chatzeros, you could carry in the mavui, the entire mavui, is as follows, because what makes the chatzer osir? In other words, what makes it osir to carry from a bias, from a chatzar into a mavui in the first place? Batim, only batim, because that's the problem. Really, a chatzar and a mavui would really be one rishus. You would be able to carry from a chatzar to a mavui if it wasn't from the bias. But because a bias, thereby you're prohibited from carrying from a chatzar into the mavui. So therefore, that's the reason why it's a problem. Now, if a person made erev chatzeros, by making erev chatzeros, that means that you're going to carry from a bias to a chatzar, and you're permitted to do that. But if you did do that, then there's a concern that you might take the object that you carried from the bias to the chatzar and now take it from the chatzar to the mavui, and that's the problem. That's why Rav said, like the Shita of Rabbi Shimon, that he said, like we learned before, that when is it permissible to carry from derech gagos, chatzeros, and karfifois? That's providing that the object was there in the chatzar before Shabbos. So if indeed you made an erev chatzeros, then there's going to be a concern, because then you can carry from the bias into the chatzar, and then you'll take the object that's in the chatzar and carry it, let's say, to the gag. So on that, Rav said that there's a concern to then also not carry in the mavui, because again, mavui has the same status as the gagos, chatzeros, and karfifois. So thereby, we would be concerned that you would carry the object from the chatzar to the mavui, whereby within the mavui itself, you're not permitted to carry more than daled amos. So therefore, that's what Rav meant. But in the event that you did not make an erev chatzeros, so then the object will be sitting in the chatzar, whereby you could go ahead and carry from the chatzar to the mavui. Whereby, if you have an object in the mavui itself, you can carry throughout the mavui. And therefore, that's the distinction you made. Again, Omar of Ashi, mi goram lechatzer she'asru. What causes to be prohibited from carrying from the chatzar to the mavui? That's the fact that there is batim. That's the problem. Otherwise, without the event of batim, then there would not be a problem to carry from a chatzar technically to a mavui. It wouldn't be a problem. And therefore, that's the problem, is the bias itself. Veleka, and if you did not make an erev chatzar, veleka, then there's not concern then to carry from the bias to the chatzar, because you have no erev chatzar. Therefore, if you had a object that was in, let's say, a bias, you would not carry to the chatzar because you don't have an erev chatzeros. So that's when Rav said that you can go ahead and go like Shita's Rabbi Shimon. The object that's sitting there in the chatzar before Shabbos, on the advent and the entrance of Shabbos, can now be moved to another gag, chatzero, karfufa, and even karfifa, and even mavui, whereby you can carry in the mavui throughout the entire mavui.